At this point in time, Inunaki doesn't really need introduction. The name is synonymous with the terrifying, the supernatural, the mystifying in Japan. There's Inunaki Village, the supposedly lost village that stands apart from civilization and perhaps even from time. And there's the Inunaki Dam that swallowed up the original village. And then, of course, there's the Inunaki Tunnel. Or to be more precise, the old Inunaki Tunnel, which is the ghost spot we're diving into today. When you hear the word Inunaki, the old tunnel is probably the first image that comes to mind. It's iconic, and you've no doubt seen countless images of the tunnel entrance blocked up with massive concrete blocks to keep people from going inside. It doesn't stop them, of course, and it has done little to detract from old Inunaki Tunnel's terrifying atmosphere over the years. Work on this creepy old tunnel began all the way back in 1884, but the technology at the time just wasn't there. Engineering knowledge was lacking, as was money, and the project came to a halt. Yet locals needed an easier way to get through the treacherous Inunaki Ridge, and so various village chiefs in the area continued appealing to authorities to finish the tunnel. Authorities finally agreed, and in 1927, construction began once more with new money and new tunnel building techniques. It finally opened over 20 years later, in 1949, well over 60 years after it first started. Yet, as technology continued to advance and as the Inunaki area built up, the old tunnel quickly became inconvenient, and plans for a new, much larger and more modern tunnel were drawn up. This tunnel was finished in 1975 and the old one closed for good. Construction on the nearby Inunaki Dam was also taking place at the same time, which would eventually flood much of the area near the tunnel, including several sections of road leading in. All of this, combined with a terrifying real-life incident that took place in the late 80s, would then turn old Inunaki Tunnel into one of Japan's most famous and terrifying ghost spots. By 1988, old Inunaki Tunnel had long been closed. People had taken to using the surrounding area as a dumping grounds for unwanted items, and gangs were said to hang around the now abandoned area as well. With the new tunnel finished and Inunaki Dam nearing completion, few people went near the old abandoned tunnel. Yet one incident would soon bring it back into the limelight. Please note that this story gets rather violent, so please be warned. A 20-year-old factory worker by the name of Umeyama Koichi was on his way home from work on December 7th, 1988. As he waited at a stoplight not too far from old Inunaki Tunnel, a group of youths approached his car and threatened him. They claimed they needed the car to pick up some girls, so he best get out if he knew what was good for him. Umeyama, of course, refused, and the youths attacked him, dragging him out of the car and then assaulting him once more. Umeyama managed to escape when the youths, all aged 16 to 19 at the time of the attack, briefly let their guard down. He tried to make his way back home, but the passing cars refused to stop to help him, and the youths quickly caught up to him. They tried to throw him over the edge of Kanda Port, but Umeyama clung to the fence for his life and was able to withstand their assault once more. Seeing this, several of the boys had a sudden change of heart. Perhaps they were fearful that going any further would literally kill the man, or perhaps his bruised and bloodied body finally brought out a sense of conscience in them. Yet the ringleader, fearing their attack would be discovered, felt they had gone too far and they had to end it. He reminded the other boys they'd all participated in the attack and they'd all go down together if this was found out. They agreed to kill him. They put Umeyama back in the trunk of his own car and beat him once again with several tools they found inside, such as cranks and wrenches. They considered dumping the body in a nearby dam, but they feared the body would float and thus be discovered. They decided to instead burn the body so that no one would be able to identify who he was, and made their way towards Old Inunaki Tunnel. Unbelievably, Umeyama was still alive when they arrived, and the boys poured gasoline on him and set him alight. His screams echoed inside the abandoned tunnel, and this caused the boys to recoil in horror. By this point, Old Inunaki Tunnel already had numerous ghost stories associated with it, and it wasn't the most inviting place to be. Umeyama again took this chance to escape, running into the forest for a second time. And again, the youths chased after him, pleading with the young man to come out and promising that they wouldn't hurt him any further. For some reason, he believed them and showed himself. The boys captured him again, stuffed torn clothes into his mouth, tied his hands and feet, and this time beat him with a stone. His blood was found sprayed on a guardrail several meters from where they'd beaten him, and yet he still wasn't dead. Again, they set him on fire, and police later found burnt remnants of his clothes attached to the same guardrail. The pain drove Umeyama mad, and he ran all the way back to the tunnel, where he finally collapsed to the ground and died. The boys waited to confirm that this time he really was gone, and then drove back to Fukuoka, where they were later heard boasting in a bar that they had just killed someone by setting him on fire. Umeyama's body was found the next day, and the cause of death after all of that was determined to be blood loss from the head. He suffered unimaginable pain, screaming over and over into the abandoned tunnel, before finally dying there. The boys were arrested, and the ringleader, 19 at the time of the crime and 21 by the time of his appeal trial, was given a life sentence. The youth's lawyer defended the young man, claiming there was no clear intention to kill. However, the judge presiding over the case stated, "The cruelty displayed is unlike any other seen in similar cases. The defendant played a central role, and so bears a heavy responsibility." The other boys were also found guilty and sentenced. After this terrifying incident, Old Inunaki Tunnel became even more terrifying, and it was followed by a string of incidents over the years that seemed to confirm that, if nothing else, the place was at least extremely unlucky. A truck driver accidentally killed his partner near Inunaki Dam in 1991, and then took his own life in penance. A 60-year-old truck driver rolled his tanker in 1993 and died before anyone could reach him to help. A married couple threw themselves into Inunaki Dam on New Year's Day in 1996, and in 2000, a 64-year-old man was kidnapped, killed, and his body also thrown into the nearby dam. In 2001, a car of 4 youngsters visiting the tunnel to see ghosts collided with a truck on their way back home. Only one boy survived. It's no surprise that Old Inunaki Tunnel is considered to be one of the most haunted locations in Japan. These days you can watch movies, read comics, and even play games set there. It has a long, terrifying history, and setting aside whether you believe in ghosts or not, numerous real-life tragedies have taken place there that can't be denied. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.